fuckers, and welcome to this special episode of the Western Grunge Tapedeck. It's our very first ever album release party.
Howdy, fuckers.
Here with Emmett Jerome to talk about his new project that's coming out tomorrow on Wednesday, Rocky Mountain Sun, which is in fact brought to you by Rocky Mountain Tap Water, or Colorado Kool-Aid, if you will.
Aptly
That's
timed.
Colorado Kool-Aid. So, Emmett, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, boys. Thanks for having me on. Thanks, whoever's at home right now listening, checking this out. I'm up in Canada, so if there's any Canadians checking it out as well, shout out. Yeah, man, I'm a musician. I live here on the coastal city of Vancouver. I grew up in a place called Bragg Creek, Alberta. And I'm a musician, and I've been doing this all my life. And big fan of blues, big fan of country, rock and roll. And that's kind of what I've been dedicating the last few years of my life to. And it's been great, man. It's been really great. So grateful to be here. And then got this record coming out tomorrow. It's been a pretty great journey thus far. So, yeah.
Awesome. What first inspired you to get into music? What led you to this release tomorrow?
Well, I guess that's a 1-2, eh? Like my dad honestly inspired me to get into music. When he was a young man, he was a concert pianist, and
oh wow.
But by the time he was my dad, he'd already busted up his hands quite badly, so he never played anymore. But I got to see him play just a couple times, just having fun, and when he could still do it. And I remember that was just like incredibly inspiring. So that's what led me to be just bitten by that bug of music and that magical thing. This record came about, Rocky Mountain Sun. I'd moved from the Rockies in Alberta, and I moved over to the coast. And there was, all sorts of life changes that go into that. I'm sure you guys know what that's about. And I wanted to write a record just to plant a flag and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm going through, and this is what it means to me to be having this experience. And that's where the title came from and all the songs. So it's a very geographical album, actually. A lot of places and things to do with traveling and moving about and being a musician. So, yeah, that's how the record came to be.
Awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to get it spinning and listen to it.
Yeah,
especially with that
thanks,
with
man.
the backstory too. So,
well, dude, I appreciate that. Like, it's been cool to see people check it out and like pick up on it. And it's cool too to look back on it because the songs are probably over a year old now from the time they sat down in the studio to record them and then finally get it out. It takes so long. So I'm a completely different man now. Like I'm a different person than a year ago. So there's this thing of I'm like looking back. I'm like, oh my God, I remember how that felt.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
that's a really cool part of it too.
We've mentioned that before in a bunch of previous episodes about how music is kind of just like a timestamp from that part of your life and all that. And it's something that, one, as the artist who wrote it and everything, that's something for you to really look back on. And then us, we can sit there and, find these things that really connect with us. And then say we could go a couple months without hearing it, life changes dramatically. And you go back and you're like, man, I remember, that one time in my life. And music is just so beautiful.
Well, and like you can have, I don't know, it's like you may have all these different experiences in your life, but there's probably 4 or 5 that float to the surface that make you really who you are. I think hearing my dad play piano one specific time made me a musician. I think going through one day at a time with this record and like feeling like, well, there's a song and that there's something that I want to do with that one experience. It's weird. Stuff floats to the top and you realize just how important it is to want to capture it.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyways, this is a heavy intro, boys. This going so deep. Yeah, please.
I'm about to switch it up on you. So fun fact, you're actually the second Canadian to come onto this podcast.
Oh, dude, who's the first?
Cody Lamb. Are you
Cody
familiar with him?
You know what? I'm not familiar with Cody Lamb. But I ought to check him out.
I don't know where he's from. I can't remember. Trey, do you remember?
It's eluding me at the moment.
So he's a full-time rodeo cowboy. He rides bareback for the PRCA, or in the PRCA, and then he's released some music over the years, and I've been a big fan of him since hearing Bull Riding Full back in 2019.
He's actually from Alberta.
Yeah. Very rodeo-themed country music.
Wow, man. Well, dude, that's definitely one to check out. That's really cool. Thanks for putting me onto that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that fun fact out there that you're not the first Canadian we've had on here. That's
no, man. That's awesome. That's like it's cool that there's Nolene Hoffman and stuff like getting on the map.
Oh yeah.
I met her about this time last year, last September, literally passing a guitar around a campfire, long before she got discovered by Zach Bryan and got quite famous. So I saw her then, and I saw her about 6 months later at the Commodore, which is the big theater in town, opening for Charlie Crockett. So it was this awesome, holy shit, you just went from there to there so fast. And now people, Alberta has always had a thing with Nashville and a lot of musicians, Canadians in Nashville, but even just outside of Nashville, the whole country scene, having some Canadians in it doing their thing is awesome. Yeah.
Which isn't Coulter Wall also Canadian?
Yeah, Coulter Wall is from Saskatchewan. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about Corb?
No, that's awesome.
Is Corb Lund, is he Albertan?
Yeah.
Corb Lund's Albertan, and actually, you guys from Ian Tyson, actually, he lived down the road from where I lived, which was amazing.
That's awesome.
So Ian, got to see Ian and Corb a few times too, very casually, just be there, just in a bar or something like that, which is really, really cool. There's a fella named Richard Inman from Lethbridge, Alberta, and he's got to be one of the best I've ever heard right now. So, yeah.
Gonna have to check that out. I don't think I've heard of him.
Yeah. Richard Inman's fantastic. And yeah, and I mean, there's also I live in a city now. I live in Vancouver, and there's so much cool music coming here too, kind of countrypolitan, it's almost, there's a lot of this cool hybrid stuff happening in this city as well, where you got people coming from different places and mixing it up, and it's just a blend of Americana stuff. So yeah,
that's awesome.
There's plenty of good music everywhere, I suppose.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to ask how being from Alberta has kind of shaped, the music that you make, or how it's influenced you.
Well, growing up in Alberta, I feel like it totally laid the foundation, but it took leaving to actually become a musician. And it took looking back on what those, once it's you're leaving the fishbowl, and you're oh, and you have this perspective on your identity. So growing up in Alberta the way I did, we lived in very rural, and it was just this kind of it was just this very raw, fun childhood. And as a teenager, you're left to your own devices and making a lot of your own fun. That I think really is a cornerstone in not just country music, but in all sorts of music. But with that came that desire to get out and to see more, and just this curiosity of the world. So yeah, I moved to Vancouver, and I lived a few places in BC and traveled all over Canada and the US, just soaking up stuff and using music as kind of the way to open doors to new places and see new things. So definitely Alberta's this like thing that I hold on to really dearly because it made me who I am. But I had to go off in all these different directions to really pave a way for myself as a musician, and soak up these new things. So yeah. But I mean, certainly Alberta, the guys I grew up playing with, there was a lot of like the first band I had was like a blues band, and like playing music that was played in bars and that gets people going. That's something that I don't think you get maybe in a city so much. If you're a musician there, you're expected to sit in a bar and get people to sing along and have a good time. And I think that's definitely become a big part of my music too. So
yeah.
I hope that answers that question.
Definitely. So you've played in a blues band. I think I saw on your Instagram, you also have a rock band that you're playing in? Is that true?
Yeah. Well, I've got a rock band I play with, and I'm also like these days I play guitar in kind of two countless bands. There's so many lot of like country and rock bands that I play guitar in as like a session player. And so I've definitely, in this city with everything going on, kind of found a place for myself as like a country musician and then a guitar player that can jump into all these different rooms and play with all these different people and have that kind of conversation. So yeah, it's pretty like I've come to be pretty multifaceted in music, and
that's awesome.
Through just a desire to like learn stuff and expand what's out there. So yeah. So I'm proud of a few things in Vancouver.
What age did you start playing guitar and learning it, and did you teach yourself or?
Yeah, it's funny because like I started playing trombone and I played saxophone in my school band, and I was a band nerd and I loved it, but it was so uncool at the time. And looking back, I think it's so badass to like, but at the time
That's
I was
what
like,
I played in middle school as well.
right? Like, and it's so fun. And the trombone, oh man. And like, anyways, I if you go into like a jazz or blues bar now and I hear someone on trombone, I'm like, that is so epic. I just play this boring guitar everybody plays. But I started doing that and I really, really loved it. But I didn't really know any music that was playing those instruments. And my parents had a great record collection, and it was a lot of like Neil Young and they Dire Straits and like really like Tom Petty, just guitar music. So quickly kind of figured out how to get a guitar and just started teaching myself. And I never had a teacher until I moved to the coast as like an adult and sought out some mentorship from these guitar players that I'd looked up to for years. So yeah, it was pretty I was pretty shit for many years. Still am, but it's working on it. It's a work in progress.
And I don't think people really understand like how hard guitar actually is to like play and kind of pretty much like master it or anything.
Oh, dude,
like it is a struggle.
I can't speak to the mastery, but I can speak to the hard work. I mean, like I've put in. When people ask like how much have you played or how did you get so good, I like don't even want to answer, because it's like just sit down with it for 10 or 15 years and don't do anything. And then you'll start to see something happening. Because that's what I did.
When you said that, all I could think about was on the Todd Snyder live album when he's doing the Devil's Backbone Tavern. He goes, "The best guitar work that I can muster," and then he like just goes to like playing a few notes, and he plucks one, and he just goes on. When he said that, I was just like, "Yo, that's that line."
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely like the thing with music is it's something that gives back, you know. So all that energy you put in, it's always come right back. So it's never felt like a sacrifice. It just feels like you're building something. But yeah, I've loved the journey, and it's kept me on the right path. It's kept me out of trouble, and it's given me so many things. So you know, learning guitar has been a big part of my life.
So you know, we ask everybody that comes on, and we talk about it a lot personally. But who would you consider to be your biggest musical influences?
I mean, what got me interested in songwriting was Ian No. I heard his record maybe 2018, and at that point in time, I didn't know that. In a weird way, I didn't know you could write songs. Like I knew there was a lot of songs out there, and I played them, but I'd never thought about writing something just for me to tell a story. So but I heard him, and I was like, oh, I love it. I love these tales, and I want to do something like that too. So that's kind of when I started writing. And I know this last record, I was listening to a ton of Marty Stewart, like big Marty Stewart fan, and yeah, just probably those two kind of fed into what this one's all about. Sailor's Guide to Earth too. That Sturgill record blew me, like continues to blow me away, because it's man, like I really like that he can't be classified. I really like the depth of the musical things that he does. Like that record, there's horns and strings and backup singers and all this stuff. It feels like you're listening to just a masterpiece from front to back.
It does.
And it's like he left no stone unturned. So those records really speak to me a lot.
Those are great picks. Sure. I think all three of us love
I mean, those are all
well.
pretty like country records too, and like there's a lot of stuff I like that's like not really firmly in that world. Like the Dire Straits and Mark Knopfler is one of the big reasons I play guitar the way I do. The Allman Brothers is really big as well. So I think there's like been 50 years of Allman Brothers, and I'm into all of it, and that's another big piece of the puzzle too. So yeah.
That's
awesome.
Hope
we can get some new Ian No
here, dude. Soon too. Yeah. He's seldom releasing, right? He's kind of like, I'd like to know what a guy like that gets up to.
Yeah,
I'd be really, really interested. What his muse is all about.
Yeah.
Cole Chaney's another one that I would like some more music from. He already said that he's not releasing an album this year, but I need him to come back to Tulsa. I was going to go see him at the Mercury, and he broke his wrist the night before in St. Louis and had to reschedule. And I don't know if they've rescheduled it yet.
That's that makes me quiver. That is
listen, like what a badass Cole Chaney is he fell off stage like first or second song of his set, broke his wrist, and then finished his set before like going to the ER or whatever, and then canceling his next like four month of shows with a broken wrist.
Wow.
I really wanted to meet him again because the first time I met him, I was extremely awkward. and I was like trying to buy something to have him sign, and like he was packing up his table, and it's like only thing that was left was these stickers. I was like, "Hey man, I'll take a sticker." And so like he told me how much they were, and all I had was like a $10 bill. And he's like, "Oh, I don't really have any change." And I was like, "That's cool. You just sign it for me." And he's like, "You want me to sign a sticker?" And I was like, "Yeah, yes."
And you're like,
And
just
so like
do it. Just get this over with.
so I got this like little sticker that's signed Colchaney. And I'm like, dude, it was just such like an awkward experience because like he was like trying to pack up. I was trying to buy the sticker because like I really wanted to interact with him, but like he's trying to leave. So, anyways,
dude, sometimes your brain just turns off in those situations. You meet someone that you really look up to, like. I won't even say it. Everyone's got a story like that, though, where they're like, yeah, so anyways, I approached this person who I love so dearly and respect so much, and I just made a complete fool of myself because I didn't know what else to do. It felt like that's what had to happen.
Yep.
So,
talking about experiences at a show, I'm curious what some of your favorite memories or least favorite memories are playing a show.
Playing a show. Oh man. There was one we did during COVID. I think that first was like 2019, and I moved back to my hometown because there's nothing going on, and was just kind of laying low. And I organized a show in the main hamlet of our town, which is like maybe 100 meters across. It's a small little kind of collection of buildings. And we just pulled a trailer up and set up our stuff on it. And everybody drove in and like rolled their windows down and basically tailgated in the parking lot because there was restrictions in Alberta and we couldn't do anything. So we threw this awesome outdoor social distance show in like the middle of COVID when nothing was happening. And it was so much fun. And it was so cool and just felt like such a win for music. But I mean, as far as bad goes, there's so many. Like I liked, oh man, there's like some wild ones. I know that I've got some wild ones out there. Like I remember this one time, this guy was at the show, this older dude, and he looked like a Anton LaVey, like that bald Satanist guy. And he was like, had a cane and this crazy mustache. And he was there with these two young girls. And I was chatting with them after the show in a way, kind of trying to be like, you guys all right? Is everything good with this guy? And he comes over and he's like, you get the fuck away from them. Like you don't fucking talk to them. I'm going to stab you. And he starts trying to like, he has this cane and he's got like a blade in it. And he's like, I'll fucking stab you. And I'm kind of like, we were playing at this show and I'm looking around. I was like, I'm not fighting this guy. Like what the hell? I'm this old man with the, and I remember the bouncer at this place was like, you gonna let him talk to you like that? And I'm like, get him, like chuck him out. Like I don't want you deal with him. Like,
did you see
the sword out from under him? Damn it!
Yeah, the bouncer was like, oh man. So
that's scary.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird ones. I had to hit someone with a guitar once on stage, which was like totally just like they like jumped on stage and I was playing. It was at like a punk venue. So we were playing in like a skateboard, like on a skateboard ramp essentially. And then the people were below us and some guy jumped on stage and he made a beeline for the singer I was playing with. And I remember like these Canadian hockey instincts kick in and I just like, without even thinking, I have my guitar and I just like cross check him and he flies off and like, we continue on like nothing even happened. And afterwards I was like, holy shit, I just beamed that guy. That was crazy. I hope he's yeah, he probably looked awesome.
So did no one happen to catch that on video? Because I mean, like that's a viral TikTok clip right there.
no, there's no videos of that, but I wish.
Damn. It's always the best things that go unvideoed.
I know, video where it didn't happen. I know that there's some footage of that show and it's pretty hectic, but there's none of that particular moment. And I feel like those things, in your mind, they feel so massive, but probably like as an onlooker, it probably wasn't that big of a deal at all. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm like slaying giants with a guitar. So, but it was, yeah. There's honestly, the good stories are super plentiful, and they're all like really wholesome. And then the bad stories are usually just like, there was a drunk dude and I was drunk, and they were like, just like, you spend so much time as a musician in a bar that like stuff just happens and crazy things happen. And yeah.
Yeah, I went to I don't know if you've heard of him, Colton Jesse.
No, I haven't heard of Colton Jesse. No, is he from where you guys are at?
I think he's from right around Oklahoma.
Nice.
And he used to ride in the PBR, left that to pursue music, and he's kind of been off and on here recently. But I think it was last year I went to one of his concerts, and he's just up there playing, and it was a very small little like family bar almost. Like everybody knew everybody, and then there's me and my two friends, and we're like the outlanders or whatever. And there was a biker gang that was there, and all of a sudden, like, he's sitting there playing in front of us. Everybody just turns and looks at the bathrooms, and there's a huge circle. Well, there was, I guess, some guy had some beef with the biker gang, and they were throwing down. Music never stopped. I'm like, yep, this is your typical dive bar, Friday, Saturday night concert. You just keep going.
That is honestly how it feels sometimes when you're on stage. You're like, someone's fucking, someone's fighting, like, like someone's on the ground, and you're like, don't rock the jukebox. Like, you're like, what am I doing up here? It's really funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
But hey.
So, to stay on the topic of shows, do you have any pre-show rituals? Something you got to do before every performance?
Just recently, I stole this one, which was just this shot of whiskey with the band. For a minute there, me and the guys, we'd be like, give me like 50 push-ups, and we'd get like really fired up before we go on stage. And then I was doing a show with a fella named Aaron Burchett, and he's like, everyone gather around, we're gonna do a shot of whiskey. And I was like, that is way more civilized and way more, and it does the same thing. It kind of like it gets you loosened up a bit. So we started doing that just very recently there. I mean, other than that, like, I like to listen to some good live music record on the way to the show. Like, there's some really good like live Allman records. I've got this Bruce Springsteen CD in my car that's like a 1975 to 1985 box set, and like that's always gets you really fired up. And yeah, any really good live music CD will also do the trick.
Yeah, we had Gracie York on last week, and she was saying that she likes to listen to live music when she works out, because she thinks that the roar of the crowd, they're like, oh yeah, it's her guitar player does this. But yeah, like the roar of the crowd pumps him up to work out. He pretends that they're cheering for him.
That's honestly awesome. Like, yeah, that's honestly wicked. I can definitely attest to, like, honestly, what more these days I'm trying to figure out is like the post show, because you get off stage and you're so jacked up, like, and then what happens is all these endorphins start to go down, and all that dopamine is leaving your body, and you start to, like, you can just feel like a wreck after a show, or you can feel sad, or just like, especially if you're like alone in some random town and you're like, like, what am I doing with my life? So, the post-show thing is definitely like its own kind of thing now that I'm starting to think about too.
Still
figuring that one out.
I'd imagine there's a lot of unhealthy ways to deal with that.
Well, most of the time you get off stage and you want to celebrate. You're like, we just like did a thing, and you want to party. And I found the problem is because I'm playing with this band and I'm also jumping around filling in guitar wherever I can, is like pretty much every night's a party. And it gets off the rails it gets off the rails pretty quick. It goes from being like a fucking, like, you're like riding this like fun rock star line to being like, oh, like I'm drinking at every show. Like, I don't really know if that's why I want to do this. So anyways, it's its own whole thing, and you see people deal with that differently. But I can attest firsthand from my own experiences and just being around people that come down after a show can be menacing, and it can really, I've seen it just wreck people, and they have a hard time coming back to Earth almost. It's like an astronaut, and you get out of your shuttle and you're like, have to readjust. So I think especially if you're a musician where you're a big entertainer and there's a bit of a bit in what you do, I've seen that you've got to get into that character and you've got to get out after. And it's a little weird.
Yeah, for sure. I hate to like bring this back up after all that, but going back to the pre-show ritual with a shot of whiskey, what's your go-to whiskey shot?
What's a go-to whiskey shot? Oh, dude, probably just like Canadian Club. It's like probably Canadian Club, like a what would you call that? A plastic bottle whiskey, like pretty. Yeah. The bass player in our band is very refined, and he'll usually bring like some Irish whiskey or like a Scotch, and maybe we might do that. But as far as where I'm at, I'm like, no, you guys are getting the bottom of the shelf. So it'd be a lot cooler if I had a better answer to that, but I definitely don't. I'd be lying if
I did. So are you more of a beer or kind of like whiskey, Scotch, that realm?
I'm more beer. I just like, I don't I like beer more. I just like whiskey before stage is just like so much more exciting. And like, I think it does something to your vocals as well. Like beer's kind of like taffy, sticky sometimes. And sometimes you're like, it's bubbling up in your throat. Whereas whiskey just is like clean and like kind of sizzles and clears you out,
Yeah. So it's like you said, it kind of fires you up and kind of like warms your body too, to like kind of like chill out, but also get fired up at the same time.
Right? Like it's like, and like loosens up those muscles, makes me, like ideally when we're playing in a place that's like maybe a 3-hour set, like it's like a bar band situation, like it's that second and third hour that are really awesome because you're just like super warm and you're starting, and like I feel like what you're trying to do with like a shot of whiskey is simulate that like that warmth and that excitement and that looseness that comes from just kind of like your second, third set of the night, and you're feeling really good without really giving a shit. And it's like a perfect flow. So yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
so, and traveling. Oh, go ahead. So go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. It's just funny. Like you guys are mentioning some things that this band, that the Emmett Jerome band is a lot of these things are really new. Like the band, we got started in December. So it's kind of funny you guys are mentioning this. We've had one summer to tour and play together. So a lot of these rituals and these new things, they're happening like very much in the like recently, and we're really laying the groundwork of a lot of the stuff. So, I think that's just a cool thing I wanted to mention.
That is.
So, being out on
you're good.
Being out
on
the road
Go ahead,
again,
yeah.
Or, Give her.
Tracer might be on a little bit of a leg again.
Okay, so being out on the road touring, what are your like go-to gas station snacks And there are right answers to this, just so you know.
Oh, dude, you need to know how to get like a full meal out of a gas station. Well, you know what? I gotta say this: they don't have in Canada. They do in the States is Mexican coffees, like the gas station spicy sweet coffee. That stuff's awesome. I always hit that. Up here, I'll usually do like usually it's like a really like shitty sweet latte type like a gas station coffee that has like all the vanilla and like sugar and milk stuff in it, and then usually like peanuts, like I'll get like the big sack of peanuts, and then some sort of like I don't know, something that like reminds you about being vaguely healthy. Like maybe it's like a jug, maybe it's like a 1 liter jug of juice that has like a banana on it, and you're like, oh yeah, like that's health in a bottle. So, but yeah, no, I mean, or depending on where you're at, like if you're in Alberta, you can get like really good beef jerky at like gas station stops that are on like native reserves and stuff. You can get like genuinely awesome beef jerky, and that's always like a huge hell yeah. So I mean, in Canada, most of the times there's a Tim Hortons in a gas station, which for my Canadian people out there listening, it's a bagel belt. And
now, is beef jerky priced fairly decent in Canada? Because here in the States, it is way overpriced.
Well, it's really expensive unless you're going and buying it like on, say you're like on a native reserve, something like that, then you can get it really cheap. You know, because a lot of the highways, there's a lot of like indigenous people in Canada, and like, you know, you'd be driving through one town to the next, you're usually passing through some sort of reserve or something. So stopping at those gas stations, you can always get like, you're like, it's like the secret menu. Like there's all this extra stuff that you didn't know they had in gas stations. You're like, holy shit, this is awesome. So, and one of them is definitely like, you can get like actual beef jerky that's cheap and good. So, or we did northern BC was smoked salmon.
Oh,
which was amazing. Yeah, smoked salmon.
See, we're big gas station hot dog people. That's our big thing.
Tempting.
Roller dogs are like the thing, man.
Oh, fuck it! I can't hate on a gas station roller dog. You just never know how long they've been there. I feel like you're almost
don't worry about that,
misery. You've got a bottom line. These roller dogs.
At like 2 a.m. leaving the bar, like you won't convince me there's much better than a gas station roller dog.
I bet it's a bit more of a roll of the dice if you're touring, though. If you're stopping somewhere that's, you know, kind of a smaller little town, you're right. That hot dog could have been there a while.
It could have been there a while.
You might want to be careful.
I'm a fan of the like late night divey Chinese places when you can get one of those, and those are always like, it always feels like a fun game of Russian roulette where you're like, I don't know what this is going to be like, but it, you know, like we stopped for Chinese food in Crow's Nest Pass, which is like southern Alberta, middle of nowhere, and it's like these flickering lights of a Chinese food place in the middle of the night off the side of the road. And it's almost, you're like, this isn't even real. Like, where did this place come from? We're in the middle of nowhere. So, but yeah, those are always really fun for their own exciting reasons.
One of those of, we have to stop. Like it would,
literally.
It's probably smarter to keep driving by, but we have to stop.
You got to stop just for the experience. And like, there's a, I don't know if this is actually going to be funny, but I was really damn funny at the time. Is I was in Strabane, which is in Northern Ireland, and I was visiting a buddy who lives there. He's a musician. And in Ireland, they do these long trips to the bar, and they call it like, you know, just a session. So my buddy Chris, he's like, come to Ireland. Like, I'll meet you at the farmer's home in Strabane, and we'll have a few pints. And I remember we went in at 6 and we left at 3. It was like this huge saga in the bar with his whole family sitting at the bar, and we left the bar and there's this pizza place, and it's the most American pizza place I've ever seen. It's called Apache Pizza. I'm like, what the fuck is this going in here? And you walk in and they've got these wallpaper walls of Monument Valley. That spot, it's in near Arizona. It's like on the tip of Arizona and Utah. It's where Forrest Gump did his scene where he was running, and they've got all these, and all the names of the pizza is like Big Chief Pizza, and like, it's like, where are we? We're in a tiny town in Ireland. And everyone's like, yeah, I'll have the Apache pizza, please. And I'm like, this is fucking crazy. So there you go. There's some globalism, I guess. Really funny.
So speaking of globalism, do you have any US tour dates any time in the near future?
Dude, so what's awesome, and like, what's awesome is we just landed. We're in the process of getting visas right now to come to the States. It's this crazy process to get musician visas, work visas to come down and play in the States. So although there's nothing right now, it's super exciting to have like a green light happening in that area, because I've been down to the States many times to see shows and to sit in and to just hang out, but never to play a show, never to put on my own thing. So it's coming 2025. We're pretty excited to get out on the road and just start playing more. Canada's an amazing place, but it's super hard to tour. It's so long. It's so far across, and there's like 4 cities. So it's pretty exciting to think to come down to the States and start doing stuff there. So yeah, fingers crossed with the visas. Hopefully they're coming soon. I know I'll be in Nashville in November, just to like see some buddies and stuff. But so nice. Yeah. Onwards and upwards with that one. I really hope soon that we can get to the States to play.
Hell yeah.
So,
well, back on the topic of music, your song Goodbye Trouble.
Oh yeah.
Trey, he is the one who found it, and he sent it to us in the group, and I absolutely love that song. So any kind of backstory you have there, we would love to hear.
Oh, I mean, that one's kind of got a heavy backstory. So when I came to Vancouver, and I was busking, and there was a summer there where, COVID hit and I didn't have a job, and I ended up playing with this street punk kind of bluegrass band. And that's genuinely how I got my start in Vancouver, was we going and busking with this band. And later on, that rock band that I'm in now grew out of this. So there was a chapter there of busking, and one of the guys I was busking with all the time, and who I saw a lot when I'd be out there, like on the street every day with this group of musicians, was this guy named Ezra. And I basically, Ezra seemed like, fairly normal guy. I mean, everyone in that circle was like kind of semi-itinerant, and I was living in my van for a bit, and as well as a few of the other musicians were, and then one day, there's no other way to say it, but basically they found Ezra dead in the park where we used to stay. And he'd OD'd from fentanyl, which is a really, really big problem in this city. And I know it's become a really big problem all over. So he OD'd. And this was someone where I didn't even know was using drugs. I didn't know he was using. And then he just was gone. So I wrote that song about that situation. Like, I remember I wrote the guitar part, and I just called it like the song for Ezra, and it was just this instrumental song, and I could just think about this guy who seemed like he had all his shit together, and then it turns out he was not, and it turns out that there was this demon and this mental illness that he had been kind of in a dance with for who knows how long. And so yeah, when he died, it was like that was, the first person in my life at that time that had died for fentanyl, and there's been more since then, but he was the first one that made me really think about those invisible demons and those invisible issues. So I wrote that song for him, and a year later, I just remember I was. This is such a wild tale because I'd gone to Tofino with a band and I was touring with them, and my van broke down, and I spent about a week in Tofino, which is this small, it's this point off a tiny island off the coast of Vancouver. So I was like genuinely kind of stranded there, and I just sat there playing that song all day and had nothing else to do and think about that. And I wrote the Goodbye Trouble part of that song, and it actually became a song. And I played it the next day at this festival that I was playing at, and it got just this like really amazing response from people. And that was the first song from the whole record that I'd written. And it was that whole process of like coming from being like a street musician. A year later, I'm playing my music at festivals, to finally being like, well, so much has happened. I want to collect this, and I want to be able to look back on this time and all this crazy shit that is happening. And I want to be able to also just make sense of what's happening. So, and that's where I started to just be like, I'm going to write this as a record. I'm going to make this like an album. And so it actually started with that song. So yeah, it's such a weird tale. That one probably has the most roots in it, the most backstory, because that song came from such a culmination of experiences. So yeah, cool. I'm glad I got to talk about that actually, because it's really a big part of the project.
That's incredible.
I'm sorry that all that happened, and two, it's a very beautiful song now, especially knowing the backstory.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it may put a different kind of twist and different kind of thought whenever I go and listen to it next.
Yeah, like
in a good way.
I say live. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a negative song, right? It's meant to be just like an uplifting song, because when I talk about it live and I bring up that experience, it's not about, hey, this is sad thing happened, let's mourn. It's more about like, life's short, like look after your people, look after your friends. And shit happens, and people are going through tough stuff all around you, and just try and be a better person, I guess. Like just try and keep that in mind as you're going through life, and that's kind of all that tune is really, I think, trying to say. It's just taking a shot at that really big idea of like, well, can we just be a little better? Like, can we learn from our past, and like, can we learn from all this bullshit and pain that happens? So yeah, it's such a big topic, but yeah.
For sure. That's one thing I know, especially within probably the past 2, 3, 4 months. All of us here have really, really come together and harped on the, take care of yourself, check in on whether it's your friends, your family. You see someone out and about in public that is just visibly down and everything, go. At the end of the day, we're all people. We're all humans.
Yeah.
This world is not going to get any better if we don't start acting better towards our peers and, you know, other people. Mental health we harp on that quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a very beautiful story.
No, man. Well, it's respect, because like, I definitely think our generation is like starting to get that. And like, I think that's a good thing about this generation. I'm like, that's something that we should be proud of and should keep doing, is just that, you know, empathy towards one another, and that like desire to connect. And, it's really, it could really, you know, it's a really beautiful thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got to talk about Goodbye Trouble. But now I think we'll transition to giving our listeners a real treat here. Emmett has been kind enough to share his new track that he's going to be releasing tomorrow, and we're going to listen to it together for the first time right here live. The track is Rocky Mountain Sun, and it's the title track on the project. Emmett, can you set the stage for us on this one and tell us a little bit about this track?
What? I won't say much. Like, the song, this is my favorite song, and it's what really tied the record together. It was the last song that I wrote on the record as a way to be like, all right, put a bow on it. And yeah, I'm just really excited for someone to finally hear it. So, you know, I hope you guys enjoy, you know, but yeah, whenever you're ready, I'm excited.
Awesome. I'm going to fire it up.
Of night gives way to the dawn, and I'm running on empty, running on fumes, running on a memory photograph of you. So far away, so long ago, I still carry on, and I think of you and nights are long, and I'm yours. Rocky Mountain Sun. Well, I left my heart a boxcar door. I lost my mind on some distant shore. I swerved when I saw you flash in the dark, a ghost in the rear view, a face in the fall. So far away, so long ago, I still carry on. And I think of you when nights are long, and I'm yours. Your Rocky Mountain Sun. Close my eyes, see your face. Drive through the night so I don't have to sleep. Running on empty, running on fumes, running on a memory photograph of you. Rocky Mountain Sun.
Cool beans.
Wow.
It was nice to see you guys.
That
was head incredible on there.
I wanna touch on this real quick. I noticed there the description underneath neo folk Steve Earle, Sturgill Simpson, and Jason Isbell, and I think that perfectly describes that song, and I'm sure this record, because I pick up on the Steve Earle kind of a little bit slower, and then once it gets to chorus, it picks up a lot more fast paced. I kind of get that vibe. The Sturgill, heavy fiddle, heavy, all the instruments, everything is just right here at you, thrown into your face, and then you get the Jason Isbell with the lyricism and the songwriting. It was, I mean, I'm bouncing my leg, and that was amazing.
Dude,
I'm super stoked.
Thank you, and it's so cool that we get to do it like this, because I genuinely never even done this before, and it's cool to just unveil a song. No one's really heard this, you know.
This was our first time to do something like this too, react live to a song as well.
This is incredible. The production on it was top notch. Everything felt so well balanced. I loved all of it. And you have an incredible voice. I just got to say it,
dude. Thank you, man. It's funny, when I recorded it, I could barely sing those notes, and now it's not really too much of an issue. But at the time, I remember I was like, just trying to strain and land. It was a process for sure. So thanks for saying that.
A little side story. My wife doesn't always necessarily like the same music that I do, but I show her a lot of stuff. And when I showed her a couple of your songs, she was like, he's got a great voice. He's a lot better than most of the people you show me. So,
oh, wow.
You're wide reaching.
Oh, dude, that's honestly awesome. Thanks for saying that. That's really genuinely nice.
Yeah, man, I gotta be honest, I was completely blown away. The fiddle on that song is amazing. It
Trent
flows
Freeman.
so well. Okay, man, put his name down somewhere, man. You gotta look him up. What other stuff he's been on. That flowed so effortlessly. Your voice, I mean, it ties it all together. It was really amazing, and it really, by the end of the song, I felt like I was starting to pick up on the lyrics and stuff like this. And now, I was excited to listen to what you have coming out tomorrow, but now I'm beyond excited. Tomorrow's gym session is gonna go hard with this. So yeah, man, I'm very excited, dude. I'm gonna be promoting the shit out of this tomorrow. I'm bullying. I spent the last 48 hours tweeting about nothing but ragweed, and I'm gonna come at all the Twitter followers tomorrow. All right, everybody, stop listening to ragweed for a little while. Listen to this Emmett Jerome guy.
You know what this song, the Rocky Mountain one, it's me and the boys. We call it the Centaur song, because I forget who said it first, but we're like, it's just a bunch of centaurs riding into battle, man. It's just a bunch of horse dudes fucking galloping. Because when you hear that, gong 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 gong.
Yep.
So you brought up the fiddle. That was a guy. He's from a band called The Fretless, which is a classical string quartet. His name's Trent Freeman. I got to know him because he hosts a bluegrass jam in town that's just amazing. And then we had the drummer in my live band, Tyler Murray. He did that. That was his first take, which was amazing.
That's incredible.
Because I kind of brought that song into the studio on the last day, being like, so I got this idea. I don't really know how it's gonna go. Vaguely Irish, just kind of like. And I was like, I'm going to stand in the other room and record and play a scratch guitar track. And you just play something, and then we'll build from there. And he ended up recording that. And we're like, I think we got it. I think you just laid down the whole song, buddy. And we ended up I just recorded, we recorded the other instruments and just went from there. So those two musicians really made that track happen. Yeah, Yeah.
Was there a particular moment in the studio when you knew this one was special?
When I heard the fiddle come in, like when I heard that, because I'd recorded, basically we recorded those drums, and then it was just me and Tyler in the studio and the engineer. So all the kind of other instruments I recorded, and then but I was like, it needs like something. It needs like a mournful something to tie it all together. So, call up my buddy Trent. I'm like, can you come play fiddle on this? And when I heard that, I was like, holy shit. Like, it just feels like a song now. Which is just, as a musician, like to have something be like, you know what, that feels like a song. That feels like a song that I would fucking work out to or something like that's something that I'd put the radio up to and be like, yeah, hell yeah. That was just really exciting to feel that for myself. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It sounds like the real thing. Cause at this point I was just kind of taking a lot of shots in the dark. So yeah.
I mean, you mentioned the kind of like Irish, Ireland type theme. And as soon as you mentioned that, all I'm taken back to is, I don't know if you know Reckless Kelly, but their 7 Nights in Irie song, talking about, bar hopping and everything out there in Ireland. And once you mentioned that, like, yeah, this is a song that you can work out to, just roll the windows down, turn all the way up, to sit there with your buddies and drink beer to. Like, it's a broad range of just fucking good ass
funny you
music.
Mention that.
And it's a great sound. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, so I was just saying, do you know Spirit of the West? They're like the Canadian Irish band, and they've got a song called Home for a Rest. Essentially what I'm saying is there's a Canadian version of what you just probably mentioned, and it's just about the boys in Ireland drinking, and they need to go home back to Canada because they need home for a rest.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love Irish music. I've had the pleasure of playing with some amazing Irish musicians. Going to Ireland, I've got some ancestral ties to Ireland. So like Irish, I genuinely am like a really big fan of Irish music, and I like to try and get little pieces of it into what I do whenever I can, simply out of just like a love of it. Not really as a like, oh, I'm trying to do an Irish thing, or like trying to. It's genuinely just being surrounded by some amazing Irish musicians and being like, holy crap, like I'd love to get you on this. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm happy I was able to do it with this tune.
And all 5 of your songs that you've released, they all have a very different sound. In a very good way. Like, not to oversimplify any of them, but like Willow Rose is slowed down, and Black Diamond Ring, that one's kind of bluegrassy in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of like rockin'. It's like disguised bluegrass.
Yeah,
like not real bluegrass, but kind of.
Yep. And then I'm probably gonna say the name wrong. Is it Coquihalla?
Coquihalla
Prayer. And that one,
I don't think I ever say Coquihalla in the song, so I guess it's probably it's a name of a highway that's here in British Columbia that's very dangerous. Yeah,
that makes sense. But yeah, there's a little bit of a little bit of a gospel element in that one.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I imagine that prayer being in the title of the of the song, but
it's a bit more like, oh yeah, when we do it live. I was kind of like, I feel like with that one, I was kind of going for like a rockabilly thing, almost like a Sun Records, which would have been very gospel like influence. So it's anyways, very, very, very cool observation. Yeah,
I love how wide ranging you've gotten on all of your songs that you've released so far. They're all amazing.
I'm glad that you guys enjoy it. Like it's it was like, to make all those songs, it was kind of just about, I like bring in my friends to the studio, have a good time. We recorded it at my buddy's home studio, and he got evicted, so that was the last project we ever did there. It was mixed in the studio that I'm in right now. This is my buddy Jeff's place, and it was very much kind of like an in the family, in the friends thing. And I just wanted, I was like, I want all my friends and all my buddies that we hang out and do music together. I wanted to get them in a little piece here and there. And there's a great singer, Kate Yon, who sang on Willow Rose, who I've done lots of music with. So I'm happy that that's like translated across the finish line, because, when you record something in a home studio with a bunch of your buddies, you're not really sure how it might come across on the other side. So I'm just happy we got some like cool songs out of it, and they're all different, because I think I was trying to really lean into those different interests that me and my pals are into.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. You mentioned challenges in a home studio. I would imagine, being an independent artist, there's quite a few challenges. What were some of the challenges that you faced putting this project together? And
I mean, it's just like, so this project, I got a small grant from Factor. So Factor is a Canadian association for like basically recording artists. So they gave me the budget was for one song. So I stretched that one song budget to cover as much of 5 songs as I could. That being said, we jumped into it with, I had a producer in mind that he's someone I wanted to work with, and we had a studio in mind, and we recorded some stuff, and it didn't sound good. And then we took another kick at the can, went for another couple of sessions, didn't work out. Like, the producer ended up just kind of like pulling out, being like, well, I'm not really gonna be a part of this. So I ended up hiring an engineer and going to a different place. And like, third time's the charm. Just figured, well, you know what, like, I'll get my my buddy to come in and play the drums, and I'll just take it from there. I'll do the guitar and bass and singing, and just arrange it all and produce it all as best as I can. And so it was very like, that process took a while, and there was just a lot of doubt if it was ever really going to actually finish. And but eventually it got there, and eventually I had so many great friends jump on to help out in little ways, and it finally happened. And yeah,
that's awesome.
So I'm just glad it worked out. So
me too.
So you mentioned guitar and bass.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't play bass.
Are there? Oh, okay. I thought you would.
I did play the bass on the record, but I'm a bad bass player. So yes, the bass you hear on the record is me. Our current recording bass player is like, he's like, really, man? He's listening to it. He's like, your bass playing sucks, dude. And I'm like, all right, like, I get it.
Take it then.
He was like, why? Yeah, he was like, why didn't you call me? And I was like, I don't know. Like, so yeah, sorry. So I was doing the bass. We got this guy goes by Johnny Scorpio to come in, and he did the pedal steel. And then Trent Freeman was on the fiddle, and Kate Yon was singing. My buddy Janky is the bluegrass guy. He came and played mandolin on one of the songs, and my buddy Max Earchuk played. He played a little bit of keys on something somewhere. I think that last song has an organ very low in there, so, and I think he was doing that. But other than that, it was me in like a room full of guitars, and just having a blast. So
that's incredible, actually. I mean, very talented.
For sure.
Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, I just like I love being in the studio, and that's kind of my happy place as a musician. So I've definitely, you know, when it came my turn to make something, it was really exciting because I was like, well, it's gonna have a lot of guitar, and it's gonna be recorded in a certain way. Like any guitar solos that you hear on the record are usually a first or second take, just because I wanted it to feel live. I wanted it to feel real, and just off the cuff. So there's some definitely some like production choices and that were made by me just to keep it really loose. And yeah, I'm just I'm grateful where I'm glad it ended up where it did, and like people are finally gonna get to hear it.
So you mentioned that the studio is your happy place. Whenever you go and grab that guitar and go record music, is that kind of like your disconnect from the world of where it's just like you're just right there in it? You don't care kind of what's going on around you. It's you in this moment, and that's all that matters.
I mean, like I sit there for hours, and just play and work out stuff. So definitely, and I like the studio is almost like that on steroids. Like it's like you can sit there and play and mess around with stuff, but there's just more stuff to mess around with, and there's more options. So being in the studio and having that kind of fun playground, I think it comes from that desire to just sit there and figure something out methodically, kind of on your own.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm no musician whatsoever, but my kind of like disconnects from the world of like, all right, it's just me and this moment. I don't care about anything else. Is one sitting in my spare bedroom, aka podcast room, sitting there just jacking around with the guitar, playing whatever songs, and then going golfing and drinking beer with friends and family.
Yeah.
So it's like whenever I'm in those moments, like that's where I find myself like the most happy for a prolonged amount of time, because I don't care what's going on around me.
Well, it's like you're meditating, right? And like the whole
Exactly.
thing with that, like, and with music is just like if you can reach a nice, content, focused, inspired place where like these creative juices are just flowing, and then you just want to stay. You just try and stay there as long as you can, because eventually something comes up and it breaks your attention, and you got to go back and deal with your life. But if you try and sit there as long as you can, no matter what that is for people, but you can do a lot of work, I guess, just sitting there with the guitar, just sitting there with a notebook and just making something. And it's never really like it's a waste of time. It's always really fruitful. That's
For
at least
sure.
that's my take,
Mm-hmm.
I love
Definitely.
that.
Yep. So
yeah, are you guys musical dudes? Do you guys play?
Poorly.
No.
Not really. I don't put in the
That's
time to really make much progress, but
clearly, like, especially Trey, like, you guys, music historians, fans, like, is there a title? Is there a title, or just like is there like a certain area of expertise you guys are really especially passionate about?
Well, I'll answer for Tracer. Ragweed is his expertise. Red dirt country music. Myself, I don't think I'm an expert anywhere. I kind of lean towards bluegrass and Appalachian music mostly in my listening habits. But yeah, I'm not an expert in anything.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much that Texas, Oklahoma red dirt scene since I was 4, 5, 6 years old and could actually understand words and the music. And like Trey said, we're not masters or all this stuff, but I have a very deep, passionate love for the Texas country, Oklahoma red dirt music scene, and yeah, I mean, I'm just a lover of music. Anything that I can one relate to or sit there and just jam out to and really feel and understand, and all the artists that you can, because you can tell at the end of the day who kind of puts their all, and like they're sitting here opening up to you what they wrote about and are singing about, versus all the other stuff where it's just little cheesy corn cut stuff that's just put out to make money by all these businesses and corporations. And so it's those underground, lesser known people that I really find and fall in love with, because you can feel the pain, the emotion in their voice, what they're saying, and at the end of the day they're trying to find someone to connect with their music, while the listener's trying to find someone where they can connect with music. So that's one of the things. I'm a very, I mean, Jason Isbell is one of my favorite songwriters, just because of how emotional and deep cutting all of his songwriting is.
I mean, he's definitely one where like nothing's off the table. Like in terms of vulnerability. At least as a listener, like the story he tells, I'm always like, holy shit, like I can't believe you got there. Yeah, I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe you put that, something like that. That's so personal. And like I feel like, I don't know, he's definitely broken ground, like in my mind, where I'm like, oh my God, like there's these boundaries that you kind of put on yourself, and he doesn't do that. He just lets it all come out in a really intense way. So,
and that Southeastern record came out in 2013, correct?
Yeah,
I
because
want
they
to say
just did the 10-year anniversary last year.
Yeah, and it was before my birthday that year, so I would have been 11 years old at the time. That's the album, that's the record that made me fall in love with music and the songwriting craft in itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just amazing to be able to relate to a song, especially.
Did you hear they did the great remaster of Southeastern?
Yes, I actually got the
I guess it would have been last year.
Yeah, the remastered version, the demos, and then the live recording. I got the box set on vinyl of all.
How cool is the album art of that? It's like the same photo, and he's just like 10 years older. Like it hits so hard. Yeah,
it is.
It hits so hard, man. Yeah, it's so funny though. Like the live show of that record too. I love how entertaining he is. He's really funny, and he's got like there's some great John Prine stories, and he's like really warm. And then that record is so intense and brooding, and it's in his sobriety and stuff. So it's cool. It's really it's almost like, again, with it's like that's where he was at that time. Now 10 years looking back, he seems like really just like happy to still be here, and happy to like look back and be like, wow, that was such a crazy time. And then, or wow, that's where my head was at. And just look at that really with a lot of warmth towards himself and his past self.
Yep, for sure.
It's such a cool record.
Yeah, I really gravitate towards an amazing story in a song too. Like Ian No, he paints a picture in your mind. Charles Wesley Godwin. There's so many great artists that can literally paint a story right in front of you with the words, and that's definitely something that I've grown to appreciate a lot more. Because growing up, all I ever listened to was what was on the radio, and it can be a pretty shallow listen at times.
Can leave you wanting, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one thing that I really like. I always like to think, if this song was its own TV episode or movie, like what would that look like? I'm curious if you have any of your songs, if you've ever thought of any of them that way, like if they could be put on the screen in a visual way, which one it would be and what that would look like.
Put on the screen. You know what? I've never really thought about that as much. I'd like to see the Willow Rose song be put on a screen, because that song's kind of cryptic, and the story behind it is not essentially the story that's told in the song. The story behind it is that I was, it's kind of crazy. I was in Gatlinburg, like I was in Kentucky, and I was, this was during the busking phase, and I was busking, and I went inside and I got a drink at some bar, and I ended up drinking like whiskey with this girl there, and her name was Willow Rose, and she just told me about her life, and that was that. And then we parted ways and went on with our lives. But I like, she told me some really deep stuff and some really personal stuff about what she'd been through and what she'd seen. And there's like this really intense bond, just like sitting there at a bar stool. And then, she had like, she had to get back to her life, and me too. So you just part ways. But I think that would be that's definitely one where I think there could be a cool visual story to that, telling that side of things, because the song itself doesn't actually really talk about that. It's more talking about her. But so I think that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I found her contact in my phone. I was like, I wonder if I still have it, because I remember I was like, oh well, let me get your number next time I'm back, like in fucking Kentucky, and like check up, just like see how you're doing, because it was this like genuine like friendship. And then so I looked the other day and I still have it, and I was like, I should send her this song. Like, that's crazy.
You should.
It's like really like it's kind of a like a personal song though, so I don't really know like if she would be that happy about it,
It's not
I don't
every
really
day
know.
you get a song written about you, though. It might be pretty flattering at the same time.
Man, I've written a lot of songs about people. Man, yeah, I've written some songs about some women for sure. That's happened.
Yeah,
I did. So I showed a girl one time. I wrote her this song called, it's in my rock band. It's called Bad Money. It's called Ride, and it's about just like it's like super like summer night, like. So I was like, hey, like let's go for a drive. I want to show you this song, and like I was really happy with it. And we just recorded and gotten the masters, and I took her for a drive and showed her, and she was like so unimpressed, and I was like,
no.
So I was like, ooh, that's what happens sometimes.
It stings.
Anyways, boys. Yeah.
Yep.
But what can you do?
Yeah.
Wrap it up and move on, I guess.
Yeah, no kidding. Sorry, that song.
But
I was good. I was out of there. I was like, see you later. This is not worth it.
It's almost like you just want to flip them the double bird and just be like, all right, you
ride off into the night.
Good luck finding somebody else to go write a song about you.
Exactly.
Ungrateful piece of shit.
Yeah, and people ask me like, will you write a song about me? And I was like, you need to do something treacherous to me. Like you need to like really break my heart, and then like that's a guarantee you'll have like some songs. But I was like, other than that, I can't promise it. That being said, I write a lot of songs for my friends. We've got another batch, there's basically another record that we're working on right now, and it's very different from the last one. I'm recording it at a real studio. We're recording to tape. Me and the band that we've been touring for the last 8-9 months, like touring as in just like playing and doing shows. We're recording it together as opposed to like a session musician thing. And a lot of there's songs in there that were like written for the guys in the band. Like, the drummer went through a breakup, and I remember like so I brought in a song. I was like, hey, I think this is kind of for you. And so I definitely write songs for, I like to write for the good people in my life for sure.
We had Kat Hasty on here a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about how like no one really writes with their band anymore. So do you write with, I mean, like you kind of touched on it, but like, do you feel like you really write with your band or,
well, not really. What happened is like, I wrote this whole last record was like me, and it was me doing my thing, and I just made it for myself, and I did not really have any preconceived expectations about it. It was just to get some shit off my chest. And then with this next one that we're currently recording, I have been way more intentional with like, well, I've got these great musicians in my life. I want to deepen that bond. I want to go deeper with that, and I want to write with the band. So it's been like this work in progress where we're getting to know each other and writing more stuff together. That last the last Red Clay Strays record was really inspiring to that, because I felt like for me they went from a band that was like a great singer-songwriter, like vocalist dude, to like, oh, that's like a band, that's like a southern rock, that's a band. Those are I think it's 5 folks in the band, and like I was like, those guys are all fucking clearly playing, like they're doing it together, and that speaks to me a lot more than the solo artist and the hired guns. It's not really. So yeah, the project will still be like under my name, but more and more the boys, as it goes from being these dudes that were, more in a hired gun state to being like, wow, we spend a lot of time together. We're sharing a lot of great experiences together. We should make something. It's starting to definitely lead to that. So I'm really happy about that. And the next record for sure, it's a lot more band driven. It like less kind of singer-songwriter folky. So that's coming.
That's awesome. That definitely answered my next question of what's next. So I don't even have to ask. Thanks for covering it.
Yeah. I mean, like we've got a release show, and then, we've got a release show, and then we've basically just gonna like see what this music does. And, it's doing some things in some towns in Canada we're going to go visit. And that's about and make another one. So I'm really excited to make another one and to keep going. There's like definitely a certain restlessness with making music where like it's all like the last song you write is always your favorite one. So between Rocky Mountain Sun, there's probably been like, I can't even give you a number. There's been like fucking 100 songs. Like there's been a lot of stuff happen. So I'm really excited to get something else out there that can really plant the next flag about where things are at, and hopefully like just kind of keep it going, keep developing what this sound is and what this music's about, and like keep exploring stuff. So yeah.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Break.
Think is
well. Go ahead, Gage.
Anybody got any more questions?
I think all of mine have been answered. I was just going to say, do you have anything else you wanted to plug, Emmett, before we close her out?
Oh, I mean, no, man. You guys have been so awesome and give me this time and this space. So thank you.
It's been an honor having you on.
Dude, honor's all mine. I hope I get to meet you guys in person one day. That would be really, really cool. So let's see to it that we can make that happen. next couple of years.
Definitely.
For sure.
We'll make it happen.
Well, with all that being said, be on the lookout. As soon as you get done listening to this episode, go stream his new EP, Rocky Mountain Sun. Stream the ever-living shit out of it. You heard how awesome this interview was. Just keep it all going. Go stream all of his other songs, all of his other music. Go follow him on Instagram and Facebook. Go check out his website. Like you mentioned, he's going to be hopefully on tour here in the States next year, 2025. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Go, I know on his website, his About page, that little tab, go read about it. It's very interesting. Kind of talks about, just like you mentioned on here, his kind of come up through music, his fall in love with music. But yeah, definitely go listen to that EP right after this. And I think with that being said, we've had all we can handle. We hope you're happy now. Good night.